right, what do you got?
I think I can prove to a judge that both of these men had the mens rea.
What the hell is a mens rea?
It's a legal term the lawyers use. It just means the intention to commit a crime.
Okay, come on, let's go.
Mens rea?
Put the cuffs on him.
How could we have gotten mens rea? We take blood? Can you do it without taking blood? We both use condoms. How is this possible? I want to see a doctor. Can I have an independent blood test?
Money!
I feel sick.
What are you doing?
Mens rea!
OJ Simpson kills those two people so hard, they stop making the Ford Bronco.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This guy right here, that's why we are here today. LA criminologist Dennis Fung. How are we all doing? Let's get him the Fung off camera here for just a quick second. It is Thursday. It is OJ Simpson Thursday, as it always has been and as it shall forever be. How are we? Let us know what's going on. We skipped it last week, and in retrospect, that was a mistake. I don't think we should have skipped last week. We should have done it. We should have plowed ahead. And I'm making up for it today because we're doing it. And I don't care about the Murdoch trial. So, hey, we've got nothing but time here. No reason to cut it short today. And what I'm hoping, we got a whole 39 people here. Wow. So that tells you what you think of my OJ Simpson Thursdays. Dang. As always, on Thursdays, we do OJ Simpson. And this is part 6 of Dennis Fung's testimony. And you really don't need to know what's gone on before to enjoy what's going on today and what's going to continue going on as we go forward. We're going to be here with Dennis Fung for quite a while. And about 15 minutes from now, Chandler will be joining us. Our Chandler Remington stream will commence in about 15 minutes when she gets here. But until then, I'll take care of y'all. And here we are looking at a trial that's kind of meant something. It wasn't the trial of the century. It wasn't even really a great trial, but had some standout moments. And that's what we're looking at today. For those of you that don't know, we'll make that announcement here in a little bit later when a few more new viewers come into play. Kitty, day 2 of 8. Yes, this is the second day of Fung's testimony. Do a little bit of housekeeping before we jump in. Those of you that join, I hope you'll stick through, even though other people are going to start streaming the Murdoch trial in about 30 minutes. I'm going to be right here doing OJ for about 2 hours, as we always do. We have our like and subscribe poll up. Make sure you take the like and subscribe poll. Again, we've got one more vote than we have likes on the like poll. So whoever cheated, there we go. Now we have an even number for the first time ever. Tell me, you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and tell me why you did it. Today's poll options are: I smashed the like and subscribe buttons because this isn't the Murdoch trial. I smashed the like and subscribe buttons because we like Chandler. I smashed the like and subscribe buttons because it's OJ Thursday. And finally, I smashed the like and subscribe buttons because we know Steve did it. Or I should say because we know Steve did it, if I'm going to read my own mistake properly. And kicking us off in the super chat department, where did you go? Marv White, where'd you go here? Let's go. Forget that crazy old lawyer. Which one? There's lots of crazy old lawyers in the Murdoch trial right here and in the OJ Simpson trial. But yeah. Again, no super chats are required to get your questions asked and answered. I do what I can to read the ones in chat, the normal regular ones. I get to some, I don't get to most, but I do get to some. All super chats are read because, hey, you're supporting the show through your hard-earned money. So that's the least I can do, is to answer the questions, address whatever it is you got in the super chats. So that's how that works. I do my best to get to the other chats. Priority is given to the super chats in the order in which they come. All right, I guess I was just getting ready to say that it looks like that takes care of all the background stuff. And then suddenly, at the last moment, Chaos Coordinator comes in with the second super chat of the evening. Chaos Coordinator says, yeah, no Murdoch anymore. I can get my brain back from hiding under sofa. Been there shivering from fear for too long. Poor thing. Oh, pull your brain out and let's get your brain back going. And again, oh hey, Donovan Raum. Good morning from West Jordan, Utah. Hey, good morning to you too. And like I said, we're going to see what happens when this goes to the defense. When the prosecution rests, Andrew and I'll probably pick this up for at least a day or two to see what the prosecution is doing, what the defense is doing with the case. And if they suck too, and if they don't help anything, then we'll just kind of maybe delay it till closing statements. But who knows? Legal Vices, have you ever done sea shanties for Maritime Monday? No, and that idea has been in here for a while, but it's put on hold because I'm currently operating under a copyright strike, and they will come fast and furious if we do a bunch of sea shanties. So if they were just copyright claims and demonetize the stream, I wouldn't mind. But if it's going to nuke my channel, which is very, very possible at this moment, not going to touch it. So that's the answer to that question. Flux with a $5 super chat. YouTube is hiding your stream. Had to go to Twitter to get the link. What? Seriously? Wait a minute. All right. YouTube is what would be going on that would make YouTube hide my stream? Nothing. Oh my God, how come I be limited monetization already? I haven't said anything. I literally haven't said anything, and I've said no sweary curse words. We haven't even used the M word, whatever. All right. Well, there's nothing. It says it's a public and it's viewable and everybody else can do whatever they want with it. So, I don't know. Whatever. Did anybody else not get a notification for this? Meme raid. Hey, Meme Copium's people are here. Huh, weird. All right. Welcome, Meme Copium people. Looks like you finished just in time for the start. All right, and we're up to 125 concurrent viewers now, so now's a great time to jump into the OJ Simpson stuff. Now, here's why we're doing this. Don't get me wrong, this trial was 28 years ago. Nobody's mind is going to be changed. Well, your mind may be changed, but I'm not trying to change your mind. Everybody's probably made up their mind about this decades ago. And if you just want to see what I'm showing, great. But why I'm doing it, as I say every time, the highlights, F. Lee Bailey's cross-examination of Mark Fuhrman, Detective Mark Fuhrman, and BARRY SCHECK's cross-examination of Dennis Fung, which we're doing now, are two amazing cross-examinations. With F. Lee Bailey, you get to see one of the true masters of criminal defense dismantle a racist cop who possibly, maybe even likely, planted evidence. And with BARRY SCHECK, you get to see this ridiculously long, step-by-step, it's a homicide on the stand. He just takes his life over the course of 8 days and crushes his soul with what has been said to be one of, if not the greatest cross-examinations in legal history. I mean, that's not overstating it. It's one of the greatest cross-examinations in legal history, because you get to see a master dismantle someone. Oh, and speaking of masters, coming in a little bit early, we have Chandler Remington. You got here earlier than you planned. Cool.
Just a little bit. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? This probably still dark. I was going to say bright and sunshiny morning, but it's probably still dark.
Yep, it is still dark. I'm pretty good. Slept pretty well. How about you?
Well, we're here. Chandler is our first guest ever on this isn't Maritime Monday, is it? I need a weekend. Oh God.
Yeah, you certainly do. Oh, I love the hat. The hat is excellent. I believe OJ Thursdays is what you meant to say.
Yeah, this is OJ Simpson Thursday. Oh, thank you for the hat. Yeah, this is a birthday present from some of my Russian friends a few years ago.
It's fantastic. I want to call it a pork pie hat, but that might be incorrect. It's really cool.
No, this is a handmade hard leather hat. It was like handmade in Spain.
That is, oh, I love that. That's fantastic. I'm a hat person, so I'm a big fan of the hats, definitely.
Yeah, it's dark. You can't see the contours, but they're in the front. It's triangle shaped in the front, but these like indentations here, like depressions in it. But
Oh wow,
I have
that
to
looks
wear it some. It's definitely fashion over comfort, but you know.
it looks very well made. It's really nice.
And Rick Nikita, the end and the death at the end of the month. Okay, thank you.
It's alliterative. It's mysterious, but
Yeah,
I like it.
yeah,
I like it.
Yeah. And as I was saying before you jumped in, we're not doing this to change anybody's mind. Just to show two of the greatest cross-examinations and cross-examiners that have walked planet Earth. F. Lee Bailey, dismantling racist cop Dennis Fung. God, damn it. Let's try that all over again. Dismantling Detective Mark Fuhrman on the stand. And now what we've been watching for the past 5 or 6 weeks is Dennis Fung, LA criminologist, being just crushed by Barry Schcheck, co-founder of the Innocence Project. In the early days of DNA evidence here, this is 1995. So DNA was just becoming a thing. It was so new that in her opening statements, Marcia Clark was trying to explain DNA by reference to the recently released movie Jurassic Park.
Oh wow, that's that's a really solid point in time.
And that's so that's where we are. And you don't need to know what's gone on before. You can just wade right into the bloodbath now, because it goes on. And the way it's presented, the way he presents his cross-examination, you just know every single question he asks, he knows what the answer is going to be. And if it's not that, he's already prepared. He's 3 chess moves ahead, and he doesn't skip a beat. He gets the objections of the opponents are sustained. He just switches track. He gets an answer he doesn't like. He switches tracks. He's just so well prepared. And these innocent questions that he asks 2-3 hours later, or maybe even 2 or 3 days later, the trap closes in with the reference back to these seemingly innocent questions that were given hours, if not days before. And where we are now, he's in the middle of just being spanked for cross-contamination of evidence. And I think we're actually right in the middle of a series of questions. I didn't preview it like I should have, but he was talking about cross-contamination, not cleaning off tweezers, because they would use tweezers to pick up one piece of evidence, then tweezers to pick up another piece of evidence, and tweezers to pick up another piece of evidence. They were talking about how one of the bodies was in the way of evidence, so they moved some of the pieces of evidence, dragged Goldman's body out, and then put the evidence back where they thought it was. There's pictures of the bloody glove on the crime scene in one position, some track marks where legs were drugged through a pool of blood, and then the glove back in the position, in a different position. So he said, we didn't move it. Boom, he's caught moving it. We didn't start collecting evidence. Well, there was no crime scene contamination because we didn't start collecting evidence until after the coroner's office left.
Sure.
And instantly that's met with, okay, look at this picture. There's just some random cop standing bare with his bare shoes in the middle of the crime scene. And of this course. One here, those guys wearing those blue bodysuits, isn't that the coroner's office? So you were collecting the evidence before the coroner's left. Yeah, and just they bring a blanket from the house that very well could have OJ's DNA or hair or whatever on it from inside the house outside to cover the bodies with. I mean, just dumb things like that. At the beginning of his testimony, Barry Schcheck had him nailed down on he didn't know whether or not a evidence collection manual existed, let alone the fact that it existed and it's supposed to be permanently inside the van that the criminologists used to go to crime scenes with. And I mean, he's just being brutalized. And so right now we're in the middle of a line of questioning that deals with collecting evidence and putting him in Ziploc bags and then keeping him someplace warm. He's going on about how, okay, if you take something and you put it inside of a sealed plastic bag, and then you put it in the sun, bacteria is going to grow, it's going to get yucky, and it's going to degrade the DNA evidence.
Right. So they should have refrigerated that immediately.
And this is all hypothetical. Hypothetically, if you did this, whereas both of them know that he's asking those specific questions because that's what they did. And then the hypotheticals are going to become real. So we're going to jump into this in just a minute. But before, this is your third day in a row here. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm really happy to be here. I'm much more interested in OJ than I am in Murdoch, but it strikes me it's kind of funny that they've called the Murdoch trial the trial of the century. I think they did that. They kind of jumped the gun there a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah,
I think that there is
bit.
kind of a similarity in errors made by law enforcement and DNA evidence collection. I mean, it just goes to show how frequently cops make mistakes and how big of a deal that is for really big cases.
Well, this cross-examination we're watching led to massive countrywide changes to evidence collection policies.
Really?
Just because,
I should hope so.
Yeah, because I mean they were using the same gloves just to pick up all kinds of evidence, or not even wearing gloves. So now it's the one piece of evidence, one glove. That kind of a thing. You change your glove after every piece of evidence. Things like that are becoming. They were brought about. The changes were brought about by this trial. Sort of the Koreans have this saying: you fix the barn door after the horses escaped. So that's kind of what they're doing. It's like, okay, now that we potentially blew a giant trial, now let's go fix all these things that should have been taken care of a long time ago. And last time I'm going to say this, I'm not trying to change anyone's opinion. So no reason getting an argument with him about whether he did it or not. I'm doing this specifically to show you whether or not you think he did it, whether or not you think something else happened. Just to show you how police problems met with brilliant tacticians and just skillful, masterful defense lawyers can lead to a jury having reasonable doubt in their mind.
Absolutely. I think that skillful defense, no matter how you feel about whether he committed the murders or not, you have to admit the defense did their fucking jobs.
Yeah, and people know my theory. People know my theory. My theory is he was there. He watched it, but I don't think he did it. I just don't think there wasn't enough injuries to satisfy me. He had like a little scratch on a knuckle, but the glove over that knuckle wasn't cut or damaged. He had literally a couple of drops of blood on his socks that were mysteriously found a little bit later. It could have been planted, but we're not going to get into that. But a 46-year-old arthritic man takes out a young, pretty decently buff 28-year-old, or I think he was 28, 24, 28 year-old guy, 25, and a young woman so efficiently and so quickly that even the neighbors don't hear anything. So I don't think he did it. I think he was there. I think perhaps he watched it. He paid. I don't know, but I don't think he actually did it. That's just me. And I think if he did do it, the prosecution really dropped the ball in convincing me beyond a reasonable doubt that he did it.
That's fair.
Suede hat or velvet? Now this is thick cow leather.
That was going to be my question. I was curious because there are questions about leather that come up in this trial. I know I don't know if we're going to get into that today. It doesn't seem like we are, but I have feelings about those gloves.
Yeah, this is just good old thick cowhide leather here.
It's a lovely hat.
Oh, thanks. All right, so grift us real quick here, then we'll jump into the OJ stream. Who are you and what are you doing and why are you here and what's coming up in Chandler Remington's life?
Oh, right. Hi, I'm Chandler Remington. I'm a paralegal. I have a Twitter page. It's pretty great. You can go and follow me at Remy CRH. And I like to tweet about criminal trials and especially trials that have to do with misinjury and the disproportionate amount of male victims whose voices are never heard. I'm looking forward to the Boone and Manson. And being in LA, I'm looking forward to possibly attending that trial. So I'm really happy to be here with Legal Vices. This has been fantastically fun. And I'm so happy to be doing OJ today instead of Murdoch. I can't even tell you.
This is your neighborhood. This is right there in your backyard.
Oh yes, and I and I have a really personal connection to the LA riots, to I mean, this case is, my mom has stories about it. It's wild. It's definitely very, something that I've been very interested in for a while.
I know some of the rooftop Koreans.
Oh, you do? No way. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I remember I was here in the Agence France press office when that all went down, when the LA riot started.
That's wild.
I was like standing there talking to a reporter, and he's like, "Whoa, somebody just came over the wall." Anyway, that's a totally different case.
Well, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here to talk OJ. I'm excited about this.
Now, your Twitter channel is Remy REMYCRH. REMYCRH.
Yes, you got the letters in the right order.
I know. I keep wanting to do it.
I always transpose stuff too. I'm the same way.
So, all right, mods, thank you for being here. Chat, thank you for being here. And we currently have 200 viewers. Congratulations to all of you who have found this. And whatever you do 10 minutes from now, don't go watch this stupid Murdoch trial. If you want to watch
forget about that.
Wait for like 90 minutes for us to wrap up, and then you can watch it on double speed, and you'll catch up, and you'll never know you were watching it on double speed because they talk so slowly. All right, here we go. We didn't read Flux's super chat, though. YouTube is hiding. Yes, we did. I didn't finish it. YouTube is hiding your stream. Had to go to Twitter to get the link. Fork off, Susan. Hi, Jeff. Mocha Dick Poon. All right. Thanks, Flux. As always.
Thanks, Flux.
All right. We're doing the Court TV feed. Thank you so much, Court TV, for not knowing I'm doing this and not giving me a copyright strike because, hey, I don't need it. And I'm just using your amazingly wonderful tools you've given all of us to examine this trial. There. Hope that persuaded them.
Nice shout out.
All right. Had to sniff there for a second. Here we go. This is Dennis Fung in the middle of the line of questioning, dealing with contaminating evidence by putting it into a a plastic bag. My brain isn't fired yet. I had a rough day.
It's okay. You'll get there. We'll get there together.
Yeah, it'll click up here in a second. Legal Vices, look up Natalie Side Surf. She's an influencer that makes her own face in cake and looks exactly like Chandler.
That's a really lovely compliment. I've actually seen her cake videos, and she really did an awesome cake, and I've never been compared to her before, but she's beautiful. So I really appreciate that.
Well, good then. I was like, oh God, I hope she's like super attractive or something, because that would be awkward.
She's very good looking, and she's very talented.
And Eva Torres, Susan asked Jeff out. No, Susan. Yeah, no. What's her face? YouTube Susan did not ask me out. It didn't go well. Thus, the thumbnail was hidden. I hope my thumbnail wasn't hidden. All right, here we go. Boom. Dennis Fung. Let's get brutalized here, Dennis. This has been a long time coming.
Let's do it.
That's not the right button, apparently. This one is.
You got this.
Yes. Now, if you were
all right, let's go back a little bit so we hear that
with
question.
somebody
We'll go back 2 minutes.
Dampened with distilled water, that would be sufficient to remove DNA from those tweezers. That's what you've been told.
All right, chat. Let me know how my volume is comparatively here. Yep.
Yes.
How does my volume compare? Which is out of
with
balance?
Somebody that had a deadly virus or serious virus, and they just ate something with a spoon, and then you just wipe that spoon with a chem wipe of distilled water, would you be reluctant to then use that spoon to eat?
Irrelevant. Sustain.
Do you know what a virus is?
Irrelevant. Oh, well, size-wise, it's relevant.
Do I know what a virus is? Yes. All right, and is a virus?
We all know what viruses
really,
are now.
In some ways, just a sequence of DNA.
All right, I pulled the trial down a little bit. Does that sound better?
Sounds good to me.
Are you familiar with the methods that are used at DNA laboratories to clean tweezers or to cleanse tweezers between touching samples?
No.
Do you know whether they take those tweezers and they literally put them in a Bunsen burner or autoclave them?
Suspects not in evidence. Oh, well, are you familiar with the techniques?
No.
Proceed.
Has anybody at the Los Angeles Police Department crime lab suggested that instead of just cleaning the tweezers with distilled water and chem wipes, that it might be a good idea to get disposable tweezers?
No one's made that suggestion to me.
And this is the beginning of day 2 of an 8.5-day cross-examination.
Now, has anybody told you, well, withdraw, as part
And
of
he
this,
already looks beat down.
instruction that you got, with respect to collecting samples for purposes of DNA testing, were you not instructed to collect as much of the stain as possible, especially if RFLP DNA analysis may be necessary as a future analysis?
Collect as much of the stain as possible, yes.
Especially if RFLP DNA analysis be necessary as a future analysis?
The last part of that, I don't recall, but for DNA purposes, I was taught to collect as much of it as possible.
So whether it's be RFLP or PCR, as far as you were concerned, your instructions were collect as much of that blood stain as possible for purposes of future DNA testing.
Yes,
And that's what you did in this case.
that's what I attempted to do, yes.
It's what you attempted to do.
Yes.
Not a great answer, maybe.
He attempted to do it.
Now, when you collected the blood stains in this case, withdraw. You were present, you say, on many occasions when Miss Mazzola was swatching the blood stains in this case.
Yes.
And you put them into plastic bags.
Yes.
Okay, and with you'll recall if you've seen this, if you haven't, just really quickly, Ms. Mazzola was his trainee. This was her 4th or 5th crime scene she'd been at. In all of his reports, Dennis Fung says, I collected this, I collected that, I did this, I did that. Well, under Scheck's cross-examination, it's been revealed that he actually did very little. It was all his trainee. So he's letting his trainee do all of this, and he's lying about it on his reports.
Not great. Does not look good for you, Fung. Sorry.
No, and on the evidence collection bags, they all have collected by your place and time.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't fill in the collected by whom or the time. They only did that on evidence they thought was relevant. And then
Wow.
if something became relevant, then they would go back and date it. You put the
Retroactively? Oh my God. Seriously?
Try to guess it, yeah.
No.
And try to remember who did it. And there was a whole big thing. One of the greatest parts of the trial. Carlos Delfino says, you knocked your volume way down. I didn't knock my volume down at all. I haven't touched my volume. Whatever.
I can hear you just fine.
All right. Anyway.
You were saying one of the greatest parts of the trial?
Yeah. One of the greatest parts of the trial was him saying, oh, I didn't collect. Yeah. He said, I didn't collect this white envelope with my bare hands.
Oh,
and
God.
he said, are you sure? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Several times. And then he showed them the video and he tried to say, well, I can't tell if that's a white envelope. I can't tell if it's this. I can't tell if it's that. So he literally went down every piece of evidence that was collected at that time. Does this look like a set of keys to you? Does this look like this to you? Does this look like that to you? Okay, by process of elimination, the only thing it possibly could have been is the white envelope, correct? Well, I don't know. And then he shows him the video, and it was the famous, how about that, Mr. Fung? And
wow.
To which Judge Ito says, is that a question? And he said, yeah. So that was a good thing. But so, all right, that's who Mazzola is. Ms. Mazzola, if you talked about her, it's the trainee that's collecting the evidence. And again, right here, he said Mazzola was collecting this.
Got it.
All
Very
right.
good to know.
The swatches.
Yes.
And then the plastic bags were put inside coin envelopes.
Yes.
And would you agree, sir, that it's very important to keep good documentation of exactly how much evidence you are collecting when you're collecting it. Let me try it another way. Would you not agree that it would be important to count the number of swatches that you or Ms. Mazzola took for each blood stain that you collected?
No,
No?
no,
Nope.
Well, you did not count the number of swatches you collected for each blood stain, did you?
that's correct.
And each
So he
blood
can't even tell
stain
you how many swatches he collected.
did not require exactly the same number of swatches.
That's correct.
They varied.
Yes.
Some had more, some had less.
Swatches?
Yes.
Yes.
And you have absolutely no records of how many swatches you put into the plastic bag for any blood stain collected in this case.
The stain is the evidence, not the swatch, so I didn't record the number of swatches.
Well, the stain is the evidence when you first see it, correct?
Yes.
But the stain is transferred to a swatch
Or swatches.
or swatches, correct?
Yes.
And at that point, the swatches become the evidence that is analyzed.
No. The stain is the important.
Aren't the swatches that contain the blood the physical item that is eventually taken to the laboratory and analyzed for purposes of DNA testing?
The swatches are a medium to carry the stains.
Well, don't you regard the swatch as evidence?
I consider the stain to be the evidence, and the swatch is merely a vehicle to transport the stains.
It's another form of evidence?
The swatches, another form of evidence?
Yeah. It's a
Oh, I
form
forgot.
of
This is
evidence.
Dennis Fung. We have to get our
The stain
crickets
is the
ready for his delay in answering questions.
All right, let's move on.
I
You
mean,
did
he's
not,
tired now.
after you put the only number, the only way you could track the number of swatches was by the photo identification number. Isn't that true?
The only way I can track,
Yeah, when you or Miss Mazzola, when Miss Mazzola swatched a blood stain, she put a series of swatches into a plastic bag.
yes.
And the identifying number that was placed on the plastic bag or the coin envelope was the photo identification number.
Yes.
That's because you didn't have item numbers when you were collecting the samples on June 13th.
Rephrase the question.
As far as Bundy was concerned, for each blood drop at Bundy, all you had was a photo identification number. Is that right?
For the evidence, yes.
Yes. So that's how you kept track of it. There was a bag, it had a 117 on it, and a certain number of swatches were put into it.
We also measured and had it photographed.
All right? But in terms, when you walked away from the scene, all you had was a plastic bag and a coin envelope with a photo ID number on it.
Yes.
And you did not write down on the
See, this is where I get frustrated with Dennis Fung. The same way I got frustrated with Fuhrman. If they would just say yes, no, it's over. Do you have any idea how many swatches are in that bag? No. Why not? You didn't number them correct. Yes, I didn't number them. It's over. The needle is coming out of your arm.
Yeah, it's very clear that Dennis Fung has not necessarily, either he hasn't testified before in any cases, or the pressure of the scope of this trial caused him to hesitate significantly. And I can understand that because his career was kind of on the line with this.
He's definitely trying to hedge his bets. He's trying to find a way to not admit what he's doing.
Right.
And it comes and it just makes it so much worse when you go, okay, do you do you number the items of evidence? No, but we do the photo we do the photo ID number on the bag. So there could be one swab in there, there could be 1,000 swabs in that bag. They don't know. But it says like, well, no, we don't have to do this. Do you know how many swabs are there? Well, it's numbered. Well, do you know how many swabs are in there? Well, it's not really evidence. It's a different vehicle for the evidence. And he gets asked this same question that the jury knows the answer is you don't have any idea. And not only are you trying to hedge around saying that you don't have any idea, you are asked the same question 5 or 10 times.
I completely agree with you. I think one of the things that people don't really think about when it comes to litigation is that delivery is a really significant part of how people are going to perceive you. And you have a jury who they're in the wake of the Rodney King aftermath. They don't trust the LAPD. This is an almost entirely Black jury. The whole point is for you to deliver what you're saying with conviction and be honest. And so you're right. If he answered those questions quickly without hesitation, it's the hesitation that makes them go, I don't trust this guy. I don't trust the LAPD. And he's not doing anything to change that. That is the problem.
And when the jury understands it, when they understand what the question is and they know what the answer is supposed to be, and he won't say it, even though he's asked 10 times, it really, really crushes his credibility even further.
Absolutely, because even if they don't understand the way that the evidence works, what they do know is that that man is supposed to make them feel better about the way that they collected the evidence. He is there to reassure the jury that, no, I did my job the best that I could. I might have made some mistakes, but I did it the way that I was instructed, the way that I was directed. And you're right. It's the hesitation. It kills the whole thing. It's really problematic.
Well, Free Live Free says, I don't know. I like people who think before they speak. I don't mind people thinking before they speak, but when they're thinking of a way to avoid answering the question, and it's so transparent that that's what they're trying to do, that really, really damages your credibility as a witness. If I ask, here it's at 11:30 p.m. If I ask someone if it's dark outside, and they go, well, I guess it depends what part of the planet you're living on. At that point, the jury's going, oh, come on. You know what he's asking. And then the question gets asked, well, look out the window. Tell me, is it dark outside? You say, well, it's not light outside. Then the jury starts to get pissed. And you say, okay, so is it light outside? Well, then the jury's like, oh, screw this guy. He's wasting our time. He's lying. He's clearly caught in a lie. So, if he looks and goes, I don't know. Let me see. Yep, it's dark. Move on. That's a whole different ball of wax.
Precisely. It looks like he has an angle. It looks like he's lying for somebody. It looks like he's really thinking about, who am I going to displease if I say this incorrectly? And then it makes them wonder about conspiracy theories, which is what the defense inserted and injected into the whole trial. And those conspiracy theories became way more important than the actual significant blood evidence, DNA evidence. And that created distrust, major distrust, in a jury that was already set to be distrustful of a police force that has systemically targeted Black men. So he's not solving the problem here.
Nope. And he continues to make it worse.
Plastic bag, the number of swatches that were put into it.
No.
And you did not write down on the coin envelope the number of swatches that were put into it.
No.
And when you got back to the laboratory, you told us about a procedure whereby you removed swatches from plastic bags.
Yes.
And so now the jury's saying, well, why didn't you say this 5 minutes ago?
About how many swatches you were removing from one of those plastic bags and coin envelopes.
That's correct.
And when you put the swatches into a test tube, you made no notes as to how many swatches you were putting into one of those test tubes.
That's correct.
And when you took the swatches out of the test tube and they were put into bindles, you made no notation of how many swatches you were putting into the bindles.
Senator, at this point, it's argumentative. The city didn't know that.
Overruled.
Yeah, they're different questions, dude. Sit down.
You have absolutely no records from the time that the swatches were collected at Bundy to the time that they were put into those bindles as to how many swatches there were for each blood drop.
That's correct, because the stain is the evidence, not the swatches.
And you had no count on those swatches.
That's right.
And isn't it part of your responsibility in collecting evidence to maintain a chain of custody?
Yes.
And wouldn't you agree, as part of that chain of custody, it was important to know how many swatches you had when you first collected the stain and how many swatches you had when you got to the lab?
They used the term chain of custody. Sustain.
Chain of custody is what, sir, in your opinion?
Chain of custody is recording when you take custody of an item of evidence and when you release the item of evidence and to whom and at what time.
And included within chain of custody is trying to make a record so you can be assured that you have, at a later point in time, exactly the same items that you first collected.
No, that's not exactly right.
It's
Well,
not
tell us
part
what
of the
exactly
chain
is
of
right.
Custody concept to keep track of the number of swatches in case some of them might get lost.
And this is that question right there was the connection for this particular phase of the questioning, because there was some mysterious blood drops that showed up on the back gate weeks after that nobody noticed and weren't in any other photographs. There was some things that showed up on the socks. And what he's saying here is you don't know how many swatches of blood you had in that bag. So some of them could have gone missing and you would have no idea if someone removed a few of those swatches, went back to the house or went over to there and planted some blood spots around the house, because you don't know if there are any bloody swatches missing from evidence. That's where all of this is going. And you can see that light kind of start to come into his eyes right there. Like, oh God, this last hour of questioning has been leading up to these few questions. All seemingly innocuous. Okay, so you took pictures. You numbered the bag, right? Okay, that's an innocent question. So you didn't count the pieces. No, it seems like an innocent mistake until it gets to this part. Now he's essentially admitting, yep, we don't know if someone stole evidence. We don't know if someone stole swatches of blood. Poor Dennis Fung. it
I
just keeps
mean,
getting worse.
I do think that some of these questions are improper, and I do think that the fact that Judge Ito allowed some of this questioning and that he, some of the objections I think were, I've read a little bit. I mean, I can save this commentary for later, but I think that this was a little bit improper on the part of the defense, but I understand what they were doing and they were effective and they did get away with it, essentially. But that's just me.
LaFondian says, thank you so much for the super chat, by the way. This is for keeping me entertained after dealing with cops and waiting on someone to replace my mirrors after they got hit by a sign. Well, I hate when your mirrors get hit by a sign. That sucks.
So that sucks.
I hope they caught the sign. What the fuck, pool? Oops, shouldn't say that already. We're not far enough. Only 12% clicked on because I like Chandler. You're part of the poll today.
Aw, thank you. I feel popular.
So, all right, now let's get back to some more funging around.
I want to see where this goes.
Could you repeat the question?
Oh,
Wouldn't you consider?
I wish I could jump back
from
seconds
from
here.
the point of view, might get lost.
Listen to how long it takes him to answer that. So some of these, you don't know how many are there, so some of them might get lost. He is so befuddled. He has a gigantic pause, and then he does the big mistake. It was a clear question. It was a simple question, but he does the, can you repeat that? Not because everybody knows he heard it. He needs more time to think of an answer. I think that's what he's doing.
Okay. Let's see.
Could you repeat the question?
That was 11 seconds.
Wouldn't you consider it important from the point of view of chain of custody to keep track of the number of swatches that you first collected and the number of swatches that you delivered to the criminalists, because some swatches could get lost?
Compound.
Oh, well.
6, 7, 8.
As long as I took care to handled the evidence properly, I wouldn't count the swatches.
Well, if you collected,
The TLDR of that answer was fuck.
or Miss Mazzola collected 6
Basically.
swatches for item 49, and 4 swatches were delivered to the criminalist, you would have no way of knowing whether 2 of them were missing, would you? Because you have no count.
It's irrelevant. Oh, well.
It's not irrelevant.
And you would have no way of knowing, because you have no count, whether somebody switched swatches.
All right. 2 things real quick here. two things real quick here. 1, Alan has just gifted 5 Legal Vices memberships. Paul, Simple Pleasures, Lizbots, Free Live Free, and Keely Chow received those 5 memberships. Give Alan a big thank you for gifting those memberships. And also Sniper McOneShot, thinking he's smarter than the average bear, says use the arrow keys on your keyboard, boomer. Lol, 5-second increments. Lol, this isn't YouTube. Lol, this is Court TV's website, courttv.com. Lol, and it doesn't work. Lol, I know about that.
It's a little different. It's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't think that was the first thing I tried when we went to the Court TV website? Yeah, sorry, boomer. I know what I'm doing, boomer.
Also, the boomer thing, I have to say, I'm a millennial and I'm way more tech challenged than you are. I wouldn't even know how to put a StreamYard link together. So, not cool, but people are going to be people.
Love you, Sniper McOneShot, but I'm 5 steps ahead of you.
It's a little sassy. It's a little sassy.
Arrow keys don't work.
Before they went to the analyst.
The items of evidence were in our custody. And I don't think anybody had the opportunity to switch.
In terms of counts, you would have no idea.
In terms of count alone?
Yeah, in terms of count.
In terms of count.
And isn't it true that each of these little red swatches looks just like the other one?
Vague is to the term just like. Sustain.
Do these swatches look like each other? Little red pieces of cloth.
Little red pieces of cloth.
Oh, well.
Should be a punk band name.
They're not exactly alike.
Well, could you take a look at these swatches that you collected on in the morning at Bundy, and look at them later and tell just by looking at them that these were the same swatches that you originally collected?
No.
No way of doing that, right?
No.
And have you heard of the term fungible evidence?
No.
The notion that there are certain kinds of evidence that because each of the pieces look like each other, you can't tell them apart?
I've never heard that term before.
Never heard that term.
But it has your name in it. How can you not?
It's fungible. Yeah, right.
That was pretty clever on the part of the check. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, defense is killing it here. He's caught off guard. He's giving the most reasonable answers that he can. He's trying not to mess up, and they are very clearly steamrolling him. And they're delivering their narrative really well.
That just by looking at them, you couldn't tell the Rockingham swatches from the Bundy swatches?
That's a good question.
By looking at just swatches alone?
Just looking at swatches alone.
It would be very difficult. I don't think I could do it.
No one could do it.
Maybe somebody could do it, but not me.
See, he won't even admit to that.
Come on, bro.
See, this is so unnecessary and just makes him look like a fucking idiot.
Well, that's a bad answer. I think that he's getting frustrated, and I don't think that witnesses mess up on the stand, and unfortunately, the answers that he's giving are kind of a linchpin to this whole thing. I mean, do you feel like?
Oh yeah, absolutely feel that. He does not want to concede a single point to the defense.
He looks really stubborn, and he looks like he has something to hide. And I actually don't think that he does. It's just he's not willing to admit that he screwed up, or that they have bad procedures, or that they're not that thorough. And yeah, it looks bad. I agree.
And he would come off much better taking the opposite approach.
Mhm.
I mean, what Barry Scheck is asking is, if you take one swatch with a piece of blood on it and another identical swatch with a piece of blood on it, just looking at those two, can you tell which one came from this house and which one came from this house?
Right.
Like, well, I couldn't. Could anybody? Well, maybe some. The correct answer to that is no, you fucking idiot. Nobody can tell the difference between that. That's how you make it sound like he asked a stupid question, not you're giving a stupid answer.
Well, that's true, but I mean, put yourself in his position. You're in 1994, you're this forensic analyst, and you're in this huge trial. Everybody's watching, your job is on the line, your professionalism is on the line. It's difficult for people to perform under pressure, and I think he's screwing up for a lot of reasons. And then you have this crack, defense team who really know how to make this guy look bad, and he's just not going to win. And so he's just I think the math that's going on in his head is, what can I say to make myself look like I know what I'm doing? And honestly, I just think that defense is multiple moves ahead of him. He's just not going to win no matter how hard he tries. So he's overthinking it because he's trying really hard, but it's not, it's doing the opposite thing, and it's making it look really bad.
It's like one of those bad movies or books like Crime and Punishment, where every time there's a decision point, you make the wrong one.
Yeah, under pressure.
And,
he does not do well under pressure, and that's a problem for this testimony.
Well, I'm tired of looking at Conan O'Brien here, so we need to move.
Yeah, let's keep watching.
I'm about to move to a new line. You want me to start that?
We're going to conclude this morning.
All right. Well done. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, I like this. This is the morning of the second day here, and at the morning, Judge Ito says, "So you have the morning, Mr. Scheck. You conclude this morning." He's like, "Well, I'm pretty sure we're going to go into the afternoon." He went 6 more days after this day.
That's pretty brutal. So, I mean, it's interesting that we're just getting into the second day of this. I'm looking forward to seeing how he kind of transforms over time, whether he, just breaks down or how he does.
Oh yeah. It's rough.
I've never watched this before. This is my first viewing. I did watch The People versus OJ yesterday, though, so I got a little bit of an education.
And I like this, though. And he's like, I thought you were going to finish this morning. You instantly saw him start to go, This is a look at
no
me bewildered Jack here.
No chance.
I really wish I could just use the arrow keys and go back 5 seconds. That would be so much better than just winning.
That would be lovely. Court TV, you need to employ this on your website. Can we make a plea to them? Like, make things more like YouTube, please. It makes it a lot easier.
And then go, stop using our stuff. Copyright strike. That's
the thing.
Watch his reaction to, I thought you were going to be finished this morning, Mr. Scheck.
I gotta see that.
Maybe somebody could do it, but not me.
Your Honor, I'm about to move into a new line. Do you want me to start that?
We're going to conclude this morning.
Classic.
Now,
oh no, we still got 6.5 days of this.
You indicated that you performed a phenolphthalein test, a presumptive test on the Rockingham glove.
Yes.
And in your opinion, was it absolutely necessary to do a phenolphthalein test on the Rockingham glove on the morning of June 13th?
It was important to the investigator. So
Well, I'm sorry.
I did perform it.
Well, when you say it was important to the investigator, you mean Detective Van Adder told you that you should do it?
Yes.
All right. And did you say to him, it's better not to manipulate evidence at the scene? It's good to leave it as much as one can in an undisturbed condition so that it can later be analyzed in a proper setting back at the laboratory?
I didn't state that to him, no.
Well, you believe that, don't you?
Yes.
And he asked you to do a pheno test on that Rockingham glove. And you didn't say to him, you didn't question his judgment about whether that should be done.
It was a reasonable request.
When you say a reasonable request, You did not perform a presumptive test on the cap at Bundy, did you?
No, I did not.
And when you were asked at the preliminary hearing why you didn't perform the test, a presumptive test on the hat at Bundy, you said because it's best not to manipulate the evidence and leave it in as much in an undisturbed condition as possible so it could later be analyzed at the proper setting back at the laboratory.
Yes, I said that.
And you believe that when you manipulate evidence at the scene, valuable trace evidence can be lost.
Yes.
And so what you try to do generally is leave it as undisturbed as possible by packaging and bringing it back to the lab.
Yes, when possible.
Well, in this case, wouldn't it have been possible to just put that Rockingham glove into a package and take it back to the lab?
I felt that by applying a wet cotton swab to a stained area of the glove, that it would be minimally invasive to the evidence.
Well, couldn't you make that argument for the hat too then?
Gotcha.
Sustained.
Isn't that what you would have done to the hat? Put the swab onto the hat and then try to perform a test on it?
If Detective Lang had requested me to do so, I don't think I would have objected.
So in other words, in your opinion, it's best not to manipulate the items at the scene by doing presumptive tests, in your judgment as a criminalist, but if the detective asks you to do so, you're just going to do it.
Sustained.
Well, in other words, if Detective Lang, you're saying, had asked you to perform a presumptive test on the hat, you would have done it, notwithstanding your judgment that it's best not to manipulate evidence at the scene.
That's correct, because that by doing that, it would not compromise the evidence.
Then why did you say in the grand jury
It was a
when
knit cap.
asked, why you did not perform a presumptive test on the hat? You went on to talk about how you didn't do it because it's best not to manipulate the evidence at the scene.
Ideally, that is the case.
And why didn't, but you didn't turn to Detective Lang and say, you really shouldn't be asked, withdrawn. You didn't turn to Detective Van Anner and say, Detective Van Anner, this is an important piece of evidence, this Rockingham glove. It would be best to take it back to the lab and analyze it carefully.
That was not the case.
You did not say that to him.
I did not say that, and it's not true.
It's not true that it's an important piece of evidence?
It's not true that by performing a phenolphthalein test on the glove that any trace evidence or any other type of damage, relevant damage, would be done to the glove.
Well, if that's true, why don't you perform presumptive tests on every piece of evidence?
It's not necessary to do so.
But it was necessary here because the detective asked you.
That's correct.
His answer is good,
Yes.
but he's so defensive now. He looks like he's about this close to crying.
Right.
I mean, he is thrown so far off his game by the defense. You know, at some point, your anger at stupidity and incompetence just devolves into pity, and just you start to feel bad for the guy. But damn, if BARRY SCHECK's not doing his job.
I think he's doing remarkably well. I'm very impressed by BARRY SCHECK.
He's one of the greatest legal minds out there, and like this again, I wasn't being hyperbolic when I was saying that a lot of legal experts say this is the greatest cross-examination since the Scopes monkey trial, just because it is so effective, so devastating, so detail-oriented, and just step by step by step by step to bring this whole package together. So this cross-examination here is the whole reason we're doing the OJ Simpson Thursdays. I love this.
I can't help compare it to Murdoch. I have feelings, I have thoughts. I'll share them if you want to afterward, but I'm really into this cross-examination.
All right. Well, we are at the halfway mark, so make sure you hit we got 130 people here. Again, I told people not to leave when Murdoch started, but they did. So,
Well, it's going to happen.
yeah. But hey, 130 of you are here, and that's what I appreciate. You guys could be anywhere on the entire YouTube platform or the internet for that matter, but you've chosen to be here with me for OJ Simpson Thursday. I don't take that for granted. I deeply appreciate it. And while you're here, hit the like button. We've got you cheaters. We've got 183 likes and 218 of you have taken the like poll. So cheaters, get over there and actually do your job. Don't take the poll unless you've done your job of reaching down there and hitting subscribe and like. The polls today is I smashed the like and subscribe buttons because this isn't the Murdoch trial, because we like Chandler, because it's OJ Thursday, and because we know Steve did it. That's a running joke.
I'm going to have to catch up on that one eventually, or
Yeah,
I might not.
That's a running joke. So there you go. Get over there, hit the like, hit the like and take the subscribe poll. Hit the like and subscribe and take the poll. It's great to have our super special guest here for the third day in a row, Chandler Remington. Check her out on Twitter at Remy, REMY CHR.
CRH.
God damn it.
So close. Yes, at Remy CRH. I'm so happy to be here. It's great to be here. This is really fun.
I mean, I was watching myself do it, and I processed why I do that. Your initials are CR, so therefore C should be at the beginning and R should be at the end. So I do like Chandler Remington, so it should be CHR. That's how I was. Once I paused,
it's the CH and Chandler, I think, is where you're getting like mixed up slightly.
Yeah. And so I was thinking, okay, the R, Randy, that's her last initial, so that should be there on the end, and the C and the H, and I literally feel myself processing that when I paused. So, all right, go to Remy, REMYCRH at Twitter. Check her out, subscribe, and give her some love there. It's a cool website based totally unbreaded woman. She's great.
Thank you. That's a high compliment.
Let's get back to
from such a based guy.
That's me.
Let's do it. Let's do OJ.
Let's get back to somebody that's so breaded. He is just tempura on the stand.
Oh yes.
And my little mini grift. We haven't broken this out in quite a while. It's the official Johnny Depp Mega Pint Legal Vices Pimp Cup.
Oh, that's nice. I want that.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a pimp cup, my friends.
No, that was when he assaulted the cabinets. He poured the wine into the wine glass.
Oh, I'm familiar. I'm familiar with the Mega Pints.
This is it. Yep, this is it. This is the exact same glass.
That is fantastic. I love it. I was wondering what you were pouring. I heard some liquid. I was like, what are we drinking tonight? I thought you were. I was like, is this an alcoholic beverage? Are we doing,
No.
You swore off alcohol after those 28 shots. So I was curious.
Until now.
It sounded like too long a pour to be whiskey. So I was like,
We've got that here. We're just kind of going 1 and 1. All right, let's get back to poor breaded Fung here for another smackdown for the next hour.
How much more do you have, Mr. Scheck?
Oh, I have the afternoon, Your Honor.
Last time we spoke, you said it was the morning.
No, I didn't. I specifically said it would be the day.
And here Ito is wrong. Ito said you have the morning, and he said it's going to take longer than that. It's going to take into the afternoon. Mm-hmm. Ito is wrong here. And he's got this I'm a pissed off judge look, and he's totally in the wrong.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon at this time. Please remember my admonitions to you. Do not have it quiet in the courtroom, please.
He's getting grumpy.
Please remember my admonitions to you. Do not discuss the case amongst yourselves. You are not to form any opinions about the case. You are not to allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. Do not conduct any deliberations with regard to the case. I am advised by the sheriff's deputies that over the weekend at one of the
this is this day. There was an uprising in the jury
outings. Somebody from a band from one of the universities here in Southern California attempted to communicate with you with regards to this case. You were to disregard that attempt to communicate with you. It was something that should not have happened. I think you will take, for what it's worth, the source of that attempt and treat it accordingly. Disregard it. All right, we'll stand in recess 1:30.
Oh, that wasn't it. There was another deal where there was a jury uprising because they were going to can or reassign one of the sheriffs that was taking care of the jurors, and all of the jurors they just revolted and went on strike until the guy got put back in his place. They just liked it. The jury just liked him so much. They're like, yeah, we're going on strike.
The jurors were sequestered for 11 months. I mean, they had a very hard time with it. I don't know how they did it. It was 9 months that they were sequestered?
Yeah, 256 days.
Wow.
Yeah. The trial was 9 months from selection to the end.
I thought I read 11, but I trust that you know more than I do about the case, of course.
But all right. Well, I'm in the middle of bringing up the next section here. And then we shall continue. Oh, we do have one starred comment. I can't remember what the starred comment is, so we'll have to read it and find out. All right. Embiggen it. There we go. Aha, it was Tommy. Tommy, thank you so much for the super chat. I wish every day was OJ Thursday, my favorite day of the week. Well, thank you. And these little super chats supporting the channel and whatnot, that's how we ensure that OJ Thursday stays OJ Thursday and doesn't become something else Thursday. So thank you for that. It is deeply, deeply appreciated. Let's get back to funging around.
Continue with your cross-examination.
Ooh, that's loud.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Mr. Fung. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon.
If that's too quiet, let me know.
Search of the Bronco on June 14th. You testified on direct examination that on the morning of June 14th, you and Ms. Mazzola conducted a search of Mr. Simpson's Ford Bronco.
Yes.
And about what time did you commence to do that, sir?
We started at about 10:30 in the morning.
And before you went to search the Bronco, you were over at the SID headquarters, so to speak?
At the crime lab, yes.
The crime lab. And that's on 555 Ramirez Street?
Yes, it is.
And how far away is the print shed from there?
About a mile.
Matt Roofer says, let's hear Chandler's take. Chandler's take on what?
The crime laboratory to the print shed?
Yes.
And about how
My
long?
take on Fung?
5 minutes.
He didn't say what.
So about what time do you believe you left?
I do have a take to share, but
keep it in mind.
I will.
Probably 10:15, 10:20.
Mm-hmm. Now, you told us on direct examination that you needed the assistance of a detective to open the Bronco.
Yes.
And this is a detective from a certain division of the Los Angeles Police Department?
Yes.
And what is that division?
I believe the detective was from Burglary Auto Division.
And is that sometimes referred to as BAD or BAD on forms?
Yes.
This individual was?
Sorry, I do not.
Did this individual have to sign in before coming to the print shed and opening the Bronco?
No.
To your knowledge, is there any record of this person's presence at the print shed?
No.
Now, you said that this individual came and opened the Bronco with what's known as a Slim Jim.
Yes.
Could you describe that for us?
It's a thin piece of metal, approximately 2.5 feet in length, and it's slightly rigid.
And
not beef
just
jerky.
takes this Slim Jim and
oh yeah, get into that Bronco.
Between the window and the car
Might not be so
door,
effective.
in the area the lock pulls it at, and the door's open.
Oh,
It's dehydrated cow feet meat.
what did you observe?
That's what I observed.
Took a matter of seconds.
Whoa, I'm really loud.
He worked at it for a little while. Well,
Holy shit, I'm loud.
Somewhere in that time frame.
All right, so 30 seconds to a minute to open that door with the Slim Jim, in and out.
Roughly, yes.
And you've seen other detectives do that, haven't you?
I've seen other people do it, yes. Oh.
Now, you also conducted a search of the Bronco on June 28th.
Yes.
And by that time, the Bronco had been moved from the print shed and taken to a place called Vertel's.
Say June 28th?
Yes, June 28th.
Yes.
All right. Now, you made out reports with respect to both searches, the search on June 14th and the search on June 28th.
Property reports, or is that what you're referring to?
A form called a vehicle search checklist.
Yes.
This is a form that's similar to the crime scene checklist.
Except it's applied towards vehicles, yes.
Except it's applied to vehicles. And on the crime scene checklist, withdrawn, on the vehicle search checklist, on page 3, there is a box or a line where you're supposed to indicate how the vehicle is opened.
We didn't ask anything about June 28th.
Sustain.
Your Honor, I believe that...
Sidebar.
Sure.
Oh.
All right, thank you, counsel. Proceed.
Who won?
As we were
Who won the
saying,
sidebar?
On June 28th, you went to this place called Vertel.
That's an interesting thing you just witnessed right there. It doesn't happen very often. The judge rules that you have a sidebar and he changes his mind. Why is my mic so hot? Damn it. But yeah, once the judge makes a decision, they don't usually don't change their mind, but they went to a sidebar and the judge changed his mind and Barry gets to answer the question.
It shows how persuasive the defense team is, that they can even move Judge Ito, who seems to be like a very no-nonsense judge from what I can tell.
Yeah. And now that we're here, give us your take. Give us your Fung take, and also Matt wants the connection to Murdoch take.
Yes, okay. So my main take is the connection to Murdoch. So this is the first time that I've really watched anything from the OJ trial. I know about the case, but essentially I feel that there is a connection between Harpootlian and the defense team in Murdoch and the OJ trial. What we're doing is we're taking the temperature of what's going on contemporaneously in the culture at the time. So with the OJ trial, this comes on, the heels of Rodney King. This is 2 years later. We have, a jury who doesn't trust LAPD. What I see with Scheck that I think is brilliant is he has this interview style where he's asking questions that the prosecution might ask, but in a really accusatory manner, but it's like subtle, so he's not coming across, he's not yelling like the prosecution is in Murdoch. Big mistake. But he has a lot of control over the way that he delivers all of his questions. And so he's asking these questions that the prosecution could ask that seem to be normal questions about how they collect evidence, but it's accusatory in this subtle way. And it throws him off. It throws Fung off completely. He totally trips him up. And what that does is it shows the jury that they have something to hide. And so he's selling this story and he's doing it just in his delivery, just the way he's asking these very normal questions. Now, what Harpootlian does is he's trying to, so they're both trying to create doubt. These men did not kill those people, right? OJ didn't kill Nicole and Ron, and, Alec didn't kill Maggie and Paul. But what Harpootlian does is he's just trying to insert a little doubt. So when he asks his questions, he does it in this controlled way where he has an air about him he's asking all the SLED agents things about how they collected the evidence, which is similar. And the way that he asks those questions is really just, well, are you sure that, blah, blah, blah. Like, he doesn't really ask the questions in a way that's, as accusatory as Scheck. But the thing is that it's about what you're trying to inspire in the jury. Scheck is trying to inspire anger and outrage in the jury that this black man is being falsely accused of a crime, and LAPD is complicit. Harpootlian is trying to say, well, you don't really know for sure that this man is guilty, do you? I mean, they're both playing on their strengths, and what Harpootlian's trying to do to the jury is get them to wonder instead of have outrage with Scheck. So both attorneys, I think, are very skilled in reading the room and figuring out, they're trying to basically weaken the prosecution in a particular way with their delivery. And I think that they both do it incredibly well. I think defense in Murdoch is actually highly skilled at breaking down the prosecution. So these two trials of the century have a lot in common in those approaches. I'm just kind of coming up with this now, so it's not necessarily coming out in the most articulate way, but I hope that that made sense.
No, I can definitely see the similarities that are there. Now, I mean, you're making absolutely proper comparisons, I think. It's sort of the different styles that work to sort of create the same effect, but in dramatically different practical fashion, I guess.
It's about creating a narrative. When you have a man who looks really guilty, who very easily could have done it. There's a lot of rumors and a lot of circumstantial stuff that maybe the jury has heard about. Even voir dire can't necessarily account for all of that. Some jury members might know some things or have heard some things. You want to sell your narrative. You want to sell this alternate narrative. You want to cast doubt on what the prosecution is trying to sell. You have to sell a better story, right? And I think that both defense teams are good at doing that. I just think that this case is more interesting to watch.
Well,
I mean, they're just like, look at all the SLED stuff. That's so boring. They're questioning this forensics guy. I'd watch this all day, and I probably could because there's so much of it.
Yeah, well, there's like 9 months of this we're not even going to look at because it's all Murdoch style, just horrifically bad questioning and stupid evidence. But before we jump back into this, it's interesting how their styles, like I said, the goal and the way they're going about it is substantially similar, but it's the practical differences in their deliveries where you have Harpootlian, who's the Matlock Columbo guy. I'm just a little country lawyer. I don't know any of this fancy stuff you're talking about. I can't even turn a microphone on. Just one more question. And then he pounds him at the end where Scheck just comes in like Miley Cyrus on a wrecking ball, and just goes and just crushes them. Where it's different tactics to do exactly the same thing, and they both do it well.
Well, they know their audience. They know the people of that county. They know who's on that jury, and they know what they need to accomplish, and they do it well.
And let's see, we got everything out of the way. We got all the super chats out. Oh, great successes. Jeff, you missed Kurt getting hammered last night after you left Recada's stream. No, I watched it today.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I missed that. I have to catch up on that one.
Back to Dennis.
Let's do it.
Vertels, is that correct?
Yes.
And could you tell the jury what Vertels is?
Vertels is a police impound lot.
And where is that located?
It's on Temple Street in Rampart Division, I believe.
Do we know where Temple Street and Rampart Division is?
On June 15th, the Bronco was towed from the print shed to Vertels.
Temple Street and Rampart Division is?
I don't know when the exact date it was towed, but it was towed.
All right. By the time you went back on June 28th, however, the Bronco was in Vertels. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And at that time, you needed to open the Bronco again to conduct a further search.
Yes or no?
28th?
On the 28th.
On the 28th, I believe it was unlocked.
Well, on the 28th, you were going back there to search for the shovel, the plastic bag, and the towel.
Yes.
And you filled out a vehicle search checklist for that search on the 28th.
Yes, I did.
And you have it there before you, do you not, sir?
Yes, I do.
And in the box which indicates how opened. You wrote BADDETS. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Do you have that page in front of you right now?
Yes, I do.
May I approach the witness round?
Yes.
That was a good one.
Your Honor, may I take the piece of paper out of the witness's book and put it on the Elmo?
Is that the original, Mr. Fung?
No, it is not.
And see, there's another similarity. They both have Elmos.
I don't have a clean copy at the moment. I would prefer the original.
Wait.
If that's.
And see, there's
I
another
still don't know what an Elmo is. Damn it.
Well, if the witness is referring to it while we're.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Go ahead and use what he has if you have a clean copy.
I said I don't know what an Elmo is
Here's a
still.
clean copy, Mr. Fung.
The Elmo's an overhead projector.
Oh, okay. I thought as much, but I wasn't totally sure, so thank you.
Yeah. It's the overhead projector.
Got it.
And both trials are using them. Until Murdoch, I didn't even know that Elmo still made projectors. Now they're into like high tech courtroom stuff. But anywho, yeah.
Sometimes old school just, is the best way.
It is. And it's named Elmo, so how cool is that?
Somewhat, yes. There's no writing on it, additional writing.
Yeah, just Elmo's the
Mr.
connection.
Fung indicates
Just
this
don't
is a clean
tickle it.
copy without any additional writing once you use his
I was
copy.
thinking that. It's a good one. Read my mind.
Now, this is June 28th, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
All right, and you indicate on your crime scene checklist how opened, and you wrote down BAD detectives.
Yes.
So that would be the burglary auto detectives detail?
Yes.
And that's June 28th, correct?
That's a
right.
style and tie.
Now, would you turn and look at your
I like that.
vehicle search checklist for June 14th?
Johnny Cochran is a well-dressed man. That is a tie that I can get behind.
All right. Do you want to mark the one
Yes.
from June 28th?
The page from the vehicle search checklist for June 28th is 1085, and the vehicle search checklist page from the June 14th is 1086.
All right. And what we will do is return the original to Mr. Fung, and I'll have my staff make a photocopy for the record.
And while he's doing that, Flux, the only bad thing about working for Five Brothers is listening to them fight about how to scan an email, LMAO.
Do we have a copy for the record?
Yes.
Mr. Harris, did you capture that last?
No.
All right. Just trying to protect your record, counsel.
Thank you. Now, looking at the June 14th vehicle search checklist, in the box indicating how opened, you left that blank. Is that correct?
Yes.
But it's your testimony that the BAD detectives did not assist you on June 28th, but they did assist you on June 14th?
Yes.
Wow.
When you fill out these vehicle search checklists, you do it contemporaneously as the events are happening, do you not?
Not always, no.
Well, do you fill it out soon after the events of the search?
I fill out the evidence collection sheet contemporaneously, and I'll fill in other portions later.
Well, would you have waited, or did you wait to fill out the vehicle search checklist, page 3 on June 14th, the one that's right up on the screen? Did you wait until June 28th to fill that out, or did you fill it out sometime before?
Mistakes the evidence of the search checklist from 14.
Sustain.
This checklist concerns the search you conducted on the 14th.
Yes, it does.
What date did you fill out page 3 of that, to the best of your recollection?
I don't recall.
Would it been?
That's not a good answer. You don't want that to be your answer when they're asking you about filling out an important piece of evidence identification documentation.
No. This makes LAPD look very corrupt. It makes it look like, I mean, the question is, this procedure doesn't even matter at this point because this is such an egregious error. I don't think any jury could overlook that.
And this goes back to day one when they were doing the same thing with collecting and marking evidence they collect from the crime scene. We don't put our names on it. We don't put the times we collected it unless we think it's relevant. And if something comes up relevant later, then we go back and we backdate it and try to remember as best we can. And that's exactly what they're doing with somebody opening the Bronco. And again, he's going for this could have been opened at any time. Maybe these guys were there. Maybe they weren't. Anybody could have got into this anytime and planted evidence inside the Bronco. That's where he's going with all of this. And Fung is just, this is shoddy police work.
It is. And it makes you wonder about other cases that aren't as high profile, that don't have as much scrutiny. Like, is this the kind of thing they do all the time? How many people are in jail who are actually innocent because of shoddy police work?
Yeah. Cutting corner. See, when you cut so many corners, it starts to look like you're doing it on purpose.
Yes. And the fact that
manufacturing things and hiding things.
And the fact that LAPD puts up with this is a big problem.
Hopefully they don't anymore. They're not supposed to anymore, but yeah.
I mean, I could, I'm not an expert. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, me too.
A week later?
Could have been.
Could it have been 2 weeks later?
Could have been.
He doesn't even know if he went back and filled this information in 2 weeks or 2 minutes after he left.
Why don't you date it? You should put the freaking date on it. No? Is it wrong? Is that not ridiculous?
Yeah.
It's appalling.
It's pretty ridiculous.
It makes the evidence seem like it's completely, like you just got to throw it out, even though it's really important evidence, even though it's significant as hell. I have comments.
Yeah.
It's your testimony that you actually waited until June 28th to fill out the vehicle search checklist for the search you conducted on June 14th?
It may have been later.
Oh my God, why would you say that?
Well, when did you fill out the vehicle search checklist for June 28th?
I filled out portions of that on June 28th.
Well, let's talk about the how open box. Did you fill that one out on June 28th?
I don't recall if I did or not.
Oh, Christ. The answer to all these
Mr.
questions
Fung,
should be yes, I did it right
Isn't
then.
it possible that you're confused between June 14th and June 28th, and that the BAD detectives actually came on June 28th, as your records indicate, and not June 14th?
I recall the BAD detective being at the print shed, and I do not recall a BAD detective being at Fertel's.
Well, would you agree, sir, that in terms of the checklists, the forms that you're supposed to fill out to keep your recollection fresh for future testimony, that the forms indicate that the BAD detectives came on the 28th, not the 14th?
That's what the forms indicate.
That's what the forms indicate.
So you can see it's even possible, sir, that you didn't
It's not
need
what I
any
did, it's what the
detectives
forms
to open
indicate.
that door for you on June 14th.
No, sir, the Bronco was locked on June 14th.
And you're saying that because of your own independent recollection, not because you think that that's testimony that the prosecution would like to have in this case.
Oh,
That's from my recollection,
Notwithstanding what your forms show.
in spite of what my forms show.
even though my forms said this, even though my official record of evidence of dealing, handling, and screwing around with evidence, even though my official record says I did this, I remember doing something different that's more beneficial to the prosecution's case right now.
Yeah, I mean, no
That's
matter how
fucked
he
up.
answers that question, that I mean, Shaq just he just like sealed the whole thing with it, and is that you're not saying that because that's what the prosecution wants you to say? I mean, you put that idea out there, you can't overcome that.
And all he has to do is fill out this stupid, tiny little fucking piece of paper that says who was there, what time it happened, and it just fill that. It probably takes 15 seconds to fill out that paper, and you never have this problem.
It makes him look incompetent, and it also makes it seem as though somebody had a fix in for the. I mean, it looks really bad. He looks terrible on the stand right now. Shaq's doing an amazing job.
Oh, I mean, just what a devastating question that is just buried in all of this.
And that's what my form indicates. Like, that's very cover your ass territory. That's getting into, well, it's what the form says. I don't know. I mean, I'm not liable. I can't, he's really floundering. Man.
And it just looks so horrible. Your official police report form you filled out, you lied on that, right? That's essentially you lied on your official form, or you're lying in court now. Those are his only two options, because he didn't take 15 seconds and do it the right way at the right time.
Yeah,
whether
it's
it means
absolutely
he's
incompetent.
corrupt, whether it means he's completely corrupt, whether it means he's an idiot, whether it means he's incompetent, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all.
He's lying one way or the other, and he's been just pushed up against a wall.
Exactly.
And again, strap yourselves in, because this continues for 6 more days.
Did I give you back?
Need to make a photocopy of that for the record, counsel.
The OJ Simpson trial seems to be one of the witnesses rather than the accused itself. The defense lawyers managed to distract the gullible jury to anything except the incriminating evidence. That's what their job is.
Your testimony is your forms are wrong.
That portion is incorrect, yes.
All right.
Oh my God.
Now, when you went about your search on June 14th, without telling us what was said, did either Detective Lang or Van Adder share with you a theory that the killer had walked out of the rear gate at Bundy and entered the Bronco? Without telling us what they said, did they shared a theory to that effect with you?
Oh, you can answer the question.
But I don't want to answer the question, Your Honor.
Could you repeat what theory?
Without telling us what was said, did either detective...
Pay attention, bro, because now you have the defense putting up a theory that is obviously against your interests, and now you've made him say it twice. The jury's heard this twice. Poor guy.
Detective Lang or Detective Van Adder share with you a theory that they had that the killer had walked out of Bundy through the rear gate and entered the Bronco in the alley.
Yes or no?
I don't know if there was a direct conversation, but that's what I inferred.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, there was some discussion of what we called before crime scene reconstruction that guided you in terms of your search.
Overruled.
It gave us an indication of where to possibly look for additional evidence.
Now, without telling us what was said, did either Detective Lang or Detective Van Adder share with you Mr. Simpson's June 13th explanation about bleeding in the Bronco on the evening of June 12th?
Sustained.
Well, did Detective Van Adder or Lang share with you anything to guide your search that derived from their conversations with Mr. Simpson on June 13th?
Sustained. assumes facts that aren't in evidence.
Now, when you conducted the search of the Bronco at the print shed, you were there for 3 hours,
Approximately.
and there was no press there?
Well, there's camera shots of it, but they weren't in the immediate vicinity on the 14th.
You allowed press photographers into the print shed when you were conducting the search?
I didn't see them, but they must have had a lens that was very high-powered telephoto lens.
There were, what, you mean you've seen press clippings or footage of your work in the Bronco since on June 14th?
Certain portions were captured by the news media, yes.
Well, as far as you knew at the time, however, when you were conducting the search on June 14th, you didn't see any press people inside the print shed when you were doing your work.
They weren't anywhere near there.
Okay. And
Well, that's good.
so they were not distracting you in any way.
I was quite surprised when I saw it.
Yeah. And just pushing pause here a little bit to catch a bit of a breather here and to report that Bass, member for 5 months of the Clean and Sober crew, has said that 90% believe Fung is doing a good job per law and crime poll. Seriously, I love watching the law and crime chat. No, they were just joking, because if you watch Law and Crime and you read their chat, like they're all just like, in the Murdoch case, oh, the prosecution is crushing it. They're doing such an amazing job. He's guilty.
Oh, I know.
He's down.
It's kind of amazing, isn't it? I mean, the funny thing is, I love when they ask, "Is he guilty?" And it's just like, well, I don't know. We haven't gotten to that part yet. Like, and everybody's like, "Yes, he's guilty," and it's just like, well, can we wait a little? Like, it's a little absurd.
Well, and then again, in this case or any other criminal case, it doesn't matter if he's guilty or not. It's whether the prosecution can prove he's guilty.
Well, I find it legally misleading, because the question, is he guilty? There are so many different answers to that. Did he murder them is a very different question from, is he guilty? It's just not the same thing. And a lot of the people in the chat don't really know the difference necessarily, even if they like to think that they do. It's a problem. Yeah. But I do like watching Law and Crime. They do have good streams.
That's why we use them. We use them all.
But if 90% of people are like, "Oh, Fung is crushing it," is that a joke? I mean, that sounds like
that's a joke. Yeah, that's just.
I hope so. I should really hope so.
Yeah.
Wow.
Law and Crime isn't watching this.
Good.
They're just making fun of them.
Oh, Fung.
And why I didn't touch the volume. So if the court volume went up dramatically in my ears, and I didn't touch it, it's just internet.
And there were no high-ranking police officials looking over your shoulder when you were conducting this search on June 14th.
What do you mean by high-ranking?
Well,
higher
what's a
than
high rank to you?
Chief.
Chief. Okay. Were there any? Were there any other police officials looking over your shoulder when you were doing the search of the Bronco on June 14th?
Detective Watts was present.
That's it?
There was a photographer, criminalist Mazzola, and I believe a print person was present also.
Incidentally, on what news station did you see this footage of you working, searching the Bronco on June 14th?
I don't remember what station it was.
Was that something you saw on television or something that the district attorney showed you?
It was something from television.
And this was around the time of June 14th?
This was that night.
That night? You don't remember which station? Okay. Now, you knew the search of this Bronco was important, did you not?
Yes.
And you were trying to do as complete a job as you possibly could.
I was trying to get the biological evidence during that crime scene.
And you were trying to do a complete job of getting the biological evidence, if any were there in the Bronco.
I was trying to get a representative sample of the blood that was present, yes.
Well, weren't you looking for every red stain you could find anywhere you could find it?
Yes. Just say yes.
I do not try to collect every stain present at a crime scene or in a vehicle. I will attempt to collect a representative sample of the evidence or blood in this case that's there.
Yes would have been
Wasn't
such
your
a better
intention,
answer.
when you were doing this search of the Bronco on June 14th, to collect every red stain you could find in that vehicle?
Your Honor, it's asked and answered argument.
True.
I tried to collect a representative sample of the red stains that were in that vehicle.
Mr. Fung, are you saying that you tried to collect a representative sample because you have seen subsequent pictures of the Bronco and there's in some places just as many red stains 3 months later as when you conducted your search?
Assumes facts, not in evidence.
Stain.
You knew when you were conducting your search of the Bronco that any red stains you found there would be subject to future DNA analysis.
Oh my God, just say yes.
I believe some of them could be, yes.
Well, when you were conducting the search, you were operating
Why would
on
you
that
hedge?
premise, were you not? That any red stain you found in that vehicle would subsequently or could subsequently be subject to DNA analysis.
It had not been the practice of the LAPD to submit every sample to DNA processing, so
Why
the answer is no.
You mean
Why not?
you thought that some might be sent for DNA analysis and some might not be?
Those stains which had ample material present and were suitable for DNA testing would have been sent on, yes.
Well, and were you not instructed that any stain that you were collecting for purposes of DNA analysis, that it was your instructions to get as much of that as you could?
Why would it not be?
Stains collected for DNA analysis, yes.
Well, when you were conducting the search,
Literally, why would it not be your job to collect as much of the evidence as possible for testing?
The
Why does
weirdest
it-
part
okay.
of this is it seems like he's saying he's not testing every single spot. And what if one of the spots has other DNA evidence that, isn't, consistent with the rest of them? Wouldn't that be pertinent? I would think so. Maybe I don't know enough about DNA evidence, but he's being argumentative on every question. He's being resistant when he could very easily answer in a much more simplistic way, and it creates a big problem for the prosecution. He does not look good.
No, not at all. And like, you collect everything and
Yes.
let the lab decide what they're going to test. Better to have too much laying around than not enough. And that's the implication here. You didn't collect everything. You left some spots there, which it may have somebody else's DNA in it, which may not be blood, which may be, you just don't know because you couldn't be asked to take the samples. This is so unnecessary.
I'm not sure what it is about. Maybe it's his personality. He has this extreme attention to detail, but the whole point is to make DNA evidence more easy to understand for the jury. And the defense is giving him an opportunity to say yes or no. And if he just said yes or no, even if he said no, I mean, that, he could explain it in further questions, but he's making it more annoying, more complicated, and he's confusing all of the information about DNA for the jury. They're not understanding it. So he's defending himself for his own purposes, but he's not contributing to the case. It's a problem. It's all about, his career, the way he looks, and I think also like maybe an ego thing. He's a difficult witness. He's not a good witness. Why did they choose? Didn't they prep him? This is my problem.
Yeah, they prepped him a lot. He testified about a lot of preparation.
I feel like every time you see a witness that goes up on the stand, like Spiegel, in depth, I'm like, did they not prep this guy? Did they not see like what, did they not try to do a mock cross did they not prepare for this? Because when you see somebody break down like this on the stand, you would think that they would know in advance. Like, I mean, it does not seem well prepared for this cross-examination.
Yeah, they prepared him a lot, but he's still not prepared. And
I guess prosecution was just outgunned, huh? With defense.
Yeah. I mean,
That kind of seems like the simplest explanation.
But just don't be so standoffish, Just,
yeah, really. Be cooperative. Answer yes or no. It's very easy.
Of the red stains that you found in the Bronco, did you decide, well, this stain, that they're going to use for DNA, but this stain, they won't?
Oh.
When there is a larger stain, I will try to collect as much of it, and I will try to get, for smaller stains, I will collect those also.
So isn't it fair to say, sir, that when you were conducting this search on June 14th, you had no idea which of these the laboratory would want to use for DNA analysis and which they wouldn't?
That would be up to the serologist to decide.
That wasn't your decision to make, right?
Oh.
Up to a certain point, it would be my decision because I would decide which bloodstains to collect.
Well, as you were conducting this search, did you take the position that you saw a blood stain, but you didn't think it was particularly relevant, so you weren't going to collect it?
If I had collected a blood stain near it that was representative of that area, I would have left the other stain.
Is it one of the things that you were instructed to do when collecting blood stains is that if you find more than one distinct stain, they should be treated as different stains and collected separately? Isn't that something you were instructed to do?
That is up to the discretion of the person collecting the evidence.
So it's your testimony that you took it upon yourself when you were conducting this search of the Bronco on June 14th, not to collect as much as you could of certain red stains. You were making that decision.
Seriously.
I would collect a representative sample, yes.
What does that mean? Explain that.
It means I don't want to answer the question. Please make it stop. That's what it means. You seems to have something to say, Chandler.
I just feel like he needs to explain his freaking job better. I mean, if he just says, it is procedural to do this, I am trained to do this, this is how we are taught. If he can explain how it works and why, if he can give a good reason for not collecting this or that, then yes, that sounds perfectly fine. I mean, create an appeal to authority for the jury so that they can see this is procedural, this is what we do, this is what every other person in my position does. We all do it this way. It sounds like he's going rogue. It sounds like, why is it up to your discretion? What is your discretion? What's your training? Explain yourself, or just say yes or no. He's not helping himself. He's really screwing himself over. It's fucked.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. It's never ending. And Eva Torres says, Chandler, thank you for coming to OJ Thursday. Jeff has a friend besides chat going derp.
Well, I'm into the case now. I'm committed. Like, I'm here, and I'm here for this cross. This is great.
Well, next Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel. You're always welcome. Why not?
Oh, I would love to come back next week. Can we do it next week? I'm into it.
Oh, hell yeah. Of course.
Amazing. I love it.
10 times reviewing your testimony with Mr. Goldberg.
There's your answer. They did 10 prep sessions.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
Yep.
Holy hell.
So that's why he's going to these. So now in these 10 preparation sessions,
issue come up of not collecting stains in the Bronco on June 14th?
And here's the lawyer trying to explain himself. He's like, God damn it, don't answer this question.
Oh my God. Just the prosecution table, they're all just hunched over, like horrified. Poor Marcia Clark. Poor Chris Darden. Oh my God.
Is the one that did the preparation. So he's
that
the
would
one
be
that's
Bill.
now getting it.
I can't remember his last name.
Goldstein?
Goldfarb, something like that.
Yeah, Goldstein, one of the three. So I just
I'll call him Bill. He's Bill. That's how I know.
All right, let's go back a couple seconds here if we can.
Bill, what did you do? Like, dude, you screwed up. Big time.
20 seconds. Yeah.
I would collect a representative sample, yes.
In your 10 times reviewing your testimony with Mr. Goldberg, did the issue come up of not collecting stains in the Bronco on June 14th?
Well, this states the testimony did say you didn't collect that.
Rephrase the question.
In your preparation sessions with Mr. Goldberg, did the issue arise of the completeness of your swatching of red stains on June 14th?
We touched on it briefly, yes.
Briefly?
Yes.
Briefly.
What's brief? How many, was it an hour discussion?
Just say yes, and you don't open yourself up to this.
Less.
In the course
I love
of
the
that
zoom
discussion,
on Bill. Oh my God.
did the two of you
savage.
decide that it would be a good thing to use this phrase representative sample to explain your failure or apparent failure to collect stains on June 14th?
That has always been my term.
Your term.
The answer is no. That's how we refer to it in the lab. God damn it. What is that?
Phantom of the Opera vibes.
I'm about to show witness. Showed Mr. Goldberg.
My mistake.
You can still call him Bill. I don't care.
They called him Bill in People versus OJ, so at least that's my recollection.
Mark these already?
I believe, actually, I'll ask them to be separately marked as defense exhibits, but I believe that they're pictures that are on the board of the prosecution.
Right, proceed.
Oh, that was another white guy, my error. Okay. Thank you for the correction.
Okay, let's look at this one first. Now, that is a photograph of the console that was taken at your direction on June 14th.
Yes, it is.
All right? And there's one smear there that's 30, that's labeled 30. Which one is that? Could you indicate that to us?
I don't know. They all look the same. I haven't labeled them.
Carl, yours doesn't. Maybe I can help you out here. Maybe I can't. No. Oh, there we go. Do you see where that red, is that stain, is that smear that I'm circling there at 30?
That's the area of the parent area.
Of 30. Is that correct?
In that general location.
Indicating just to the left of the marker.
Of the marker that says 30.
That's correct.
And it extends from the console top down below it. Is that correct?
It's hard to tell from the photograph, but it is in that general location.
And then 31 was a smear that you found at the rear of the console in the area that I'm circling now that's just below the evidence tag that says 31.
Yes.
Okay?
All right, do we want to mark this photograph separately?
Yes, I asked that this photograph be marked 10. 1090, I believe.
I thought 87. I have 1087. 1087.
Now, this is a picture of June 14th, correct?
Yes, it is.
And this picture is taken before you swatched stains from the console of the Bronco.
Yes.
In other words, after the photograph is taken, you entered the vehicle with some swatches. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you went to the smears labeled 30 and 31, and following instructions, you tried to get as much as you could because you knew that there would be subsequent DNA analysis of those smears.
Misstates the testimony.
Yep. But guess what they didn't do, man?
That's not what I...
Phrase the question.
All right? Did you swatch stain 30?
Yes, I did.
And when you swatched stain 30, didn't you think that that would be a sample that would be used for subsequent DNA analysis?
I did not think it was a good candidate for DNA analysis.
You did not think. Withdrawn.
Yeah, period. You just,
Mr.
didn't,
Fung,
you just
I
didn't
thought
think,
you told
period.
us that you didn't consider yourself a DNA person,
I'm not.
that you had not been through serology,
That's correct.
that you had no particular expertise, you had limited knowledge, to use your words, of DNA analysis.
Oh, and he literally
Yes.
said that.
That you had had a brief course in what one should do in collecting bloodstains for purposes of DNA analysis.
A brief lecture.
Brief lecture. But part of that brief lecture, withdrawn, part of the oral instructions that you had gotten on how to collect stains for DNA analysis was to get as much as you could of a sample when you thought it might be for future DNA analysis, correct?
Yes or no? What's it going to be, boy? Yes or
Blood
no?
stains collected for DNA analysis require, from the training I got, a lot of blood, and this was not a lot of blood, so I did not think that it was a good candidate for DNA testing.
So it's your
Okay.
position that
One
because
good
it
answer.
wasn't a lot of blood, you decided not to swatch as much of it as you could?
I got a representative sample from it.
Well, doesn't it
Yes.
follow that if you're going to be conducting DNA analysis and you have a small sample, that you would want to get absolutely all of it to give the best possible chance to get a result?
Makes sense to me.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. As far as you knew from the oral instructions you got, isn't it true that when swatching a sample for purposes of subsequent DNA analysis that was comparatively small, you would want to make sure to get absolutely all of it to make sure there was something available for testing?
If that swatch was for DNA testing, yes.
Well, Mr. Fung, is it your
Circular
testimony
logic.
that you looked at the smear that's number 30, and you decided on your own on June 14th at Vertel's that this smear was not going to be used for DNA testing, therefore you were free not to follow your instructions and collect it all?
Misstates the testimony. That's also compound.
Oh, well,
As to Bertel's, Your Honor.
sustain.
Right, I'm sorry. This was at the print shed. Is it your testimony that you took it upon yourself when swatching stain 30 on June 14th to disregard your previous instructions to get as much of the sample as you could because you decided that this stain wouldn't be a candidate for DNA testing?
I did not feel that stain was a good candidate for
You
DNA
just said
testing.
you don't know anything about
you
DNA,
felt
and now you're.
confident and secure in this case to make that decision without consulting anybody on the morning of June 14th.
I did not consult anybody, no.
That's
So
not what
I
the
asked
question
you,
was.
Did you feel confident and secure in doing that?
Yes,
Let's look at number 31. Is your answer the same with respect to number 31?
what's the question?
The question is, looking at number 31, weren't you operating on the assumption that it was your responsibility to collect as much of that stain as you possibly could? Because it could be used for future DNA analysis.
I was trying to collect a representative sample of 31 also.
So in other words, for 31, you also decided on your own, wasn't a good candidate for DNA testing, and therefore you didn't have to collect it all. Is that your testimony?
Yes. That's exactly what you just said. Own it.
Mr. Fung,
I collected a
hello.
representative sample of 31 also.
Or you didn't attempt to collect it all, or is that what you're telling us?
I did not collect it all, no.
Gotcha, bitch!
I mean, has he defined representative sample at any
Now,
point
this
before
is
this?
picture of the console that
I didn't hear you. What was that?
Has he defined representative sample at any
Goldberg
point
showed
prior
you
to this?
on direct examination
No.
that it was in that chart, right?
We need to know what that means.
I don't recall the
It
exact
sounds like
picture.
he's covering
Well, do
his
you
ass.
recall this as being a picture of the console? You've seen withdrawn. You've seen pictures of the console that were taken on August 26th, have you not?
I'm not sure of the date, but I have seen this picture. I don't know if it's the picture that's on the board, though.
And it's your understanding that this picture or pictures like it of the console that you've been shown were taken on August 26th?
I don't know the date.
Well, you knew they were taken some 3 months after you did swatching.
They were taken sometime after I was done with my initial search, yes.
And were there discussions with you that it looked as though, withdrawn, you see where it says 303 in this picture?
Yes.
All right. Now, if one assumes that 303 refers to the smear to the left of it that runs from the top of the console down below, just to the left of what is marked 306, does that appear to be a stain in exactly the same position as stain number 30 that you identified on June 14th?
It's in the same relative position, yes.
All right. And as far as looking at it, does it look any different to you in this picture than what you saw on June 14th?
The lighting conditions are much better.
All right. So it look like there's any less stain there?
That wouldn't be fair to
Oh my God.
make a comparison from the lighting conditions on June 14th and the lighting conditions back in the laboratory.
Mr. Scheck, you want to mark this photo?
Yes. This
1088.
And the spot that's labeled 304, that red stain area, is that in the same position as the one that was marked, that you marked as 31 on June 14th?
It's in the same relative area.
And
Did it
does
move?
appear to have as much red stain, taken into account lighting conditions, but the best you can tell from this picture, as
Did the
what you
goddamn
saw on
stain
June 14th
move?
before you even began swatching?
The lighting conditions are so different that
Oh, Jesus Christ.
it's just a different thing. I can't really compare it. I know
Now-
that I did collect blood from that area, though.
At some point before you came to testify in this case, did you have discussions with anybody at the SID laboratory about the fact that stains that you identified on June 14th on the console seem to reappear in August of 1994.
No, it's argumentative. and-
Sustained.
Did you have any discussions with anyone at SID about the fact that stains which you said you swatched on June 14th were still present on August 26th?
Yes,
Spoke to Michelle Kessler about that?
yes.
When did you speak to her?
I don't recall the exact date.
Was it between June and August?
I don't recall.
Dude, that's a 3-month swath of your life, and you don't know if you talked to her in that 3-month swath of your life. My blood
This is
pressure.
absurd. They did this for 9 days.
8.5.
I can't imagine how the jury must have felt during that time.
They felt like they hated Fung, I bet.
I mean, honestly, no, I feel worse for the prosecution. Like, imagine just sitting there and watching your witness get creamed for 8.5 freaking days. And, like, what are you going to do? I mean,
Yeah, and I've mentioned it before, so it's not a big spoiler alert. At the end of the 8.5 days, the head criminologist, one of, if not the star witness for the prosecution, Dennis Fung, got off the stand, shook hands with, and hugged the defense team.
I didn't hear about the hug. I did read about shaking hands.
Yeah,
And what do you think about that?
he was so fucked up by the end.
Yeah.
He did not know which, and he even said that. He said he was just so happy to be off the stand. He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, I read somebody who interpreted that as just saying like no hard feelings, sort of.
His own interview said I was done.
Yeah.
I was so worked. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just happy to be off the stand.
It's almost like Stockholm syndrome when you start to identify with your captors. It's pretty intense. I mean, I can imagine how far this goes. This is torture.
Yeah, well, this absurdity is a good place to end it for this week. We've got our 2 hours in. Why does the 2 hours for this seem to go by so much quicker than 2 hours for the Murdoch case?
Well, it's more compelling. You're more tuned in. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Wait, what have I done here? Let me see. I gotta get out of. Did a full screen here, and I didn't want to do a full screen.
Well, this is a great way to spend my morning. I'm really fascinated by just, courtroom practice and the style of questioning employed by these attorneys. I mean, it's fascinating to study. I really would love to end up in litigation, but I'm not sure if I will. If I ever do, I like studying their strategies. It's very compelling, and especially when it's an effective strategy.
How's your blood pressure doing? My blood pressure always goes up when I watch these things.
Oh, I'm cool as a cucumber.
Oh, good for you. You're a better human than I am. I just get frustrated when police unnecessarily lie about things, when they unnecessarily obfuscate things, when they don't fess up to their mistakes and shortcomings and problems. I mean, I think there would have been a much greater chance of a conviction if at every step of the way the prosecutor said, yeah, the witnesses said we didn't do this properly, yeah, we could have done a better job, we should have done a better job of this, than to refuse to answer the questions, continue to insist you did nothing wrong, to make them repeat the well, didn't you fuck up question 10 times before they ultimately go, oh yeah, just keep it moving. And
no, I get it. I mean, part of me I've never wanted to scream at a witness before, like watching any trial, but you get a little close with stuff like this. I think there's just a point where, okay, look, I grew up in LA. I know LAPD. LAPD has some significant corruption issues. They always have. They probably always will. There's a dark history to LAPD and a lot of stuff that you don't really want to know about. I have a friend who, he specifically is a prosecutor in the area of prosecuting corruption cases. And so I feel like maybe I'm just a little bit jaded that kind of when I watch cops on the stands, if they are humble and true and honest and forthcoming, that that's surprising. That's lovely. I always assume the worst so that
Yeah.
when the best happens, I'm pleasantly surprised. It's a lot nicer. I'm just jaded. I'm really jaded.
And that's the thing.
I'm
The
an
cops doing
Angelino.
a
What
good
can I
job.
say?
Yeah. The cops doing their job should not be surprising to you. That's the problem, you know.
But I mean, that's kind of the world that we live in. And I mean,
Yeah, it's the reality, but-
I'm not necessarily anti-cop. I think that probably the
No.
majority of cops are humble, honest, hardworking, good people. But when I say majority, I mean like 60%. So I've known some good cops. I respect the profession. There are systemic problems in policing, and
Yeah.
Los Angeles has always had corruption issues. Always. It's just been there forever. So seeing stuff like this in LA, it doesn't surprise me at all. Not at all.
Well, to be Flair asked a question about an hour ago. Was there a point in this trial that was the not guilty moment for you? And if so, what was it? Absolutely. We talked about this. It was during the Dennis Fung. Not the Dennis Fung. The
Mark Fuhrman?
The Mark Fuhrman testimony. When F. Lee Bailey got into the exchange with him where he said, "Have you ever used the N-word?" And that's the other fascinating
Except
thing.
He said the word, and it was
well, see, that's the thing. That's the fascinating thing about this trial is because of this trial, we say the N-word because Fuhrman was dropping the bombs on the tape. Bailey was leaning into it, dropping the hard N's and R's, and Chris Darden refused to do it. And so we started saying the N-word. And so from that, from the OJ Simpson trial, now we all say the N-word. And at the end, there's also where the term race card became popularized was during this trial.
Oh yeah, this trial changed the fabric of the cultural fabric of America.
Yeah,
permanently.
And that was my not guilty moment when F. Lee Bailey was saying, in the last 10 years, have you used the N-word? No. Do you use the term to describe any person of African-American heritage? No, I would never use that word to describe anybody. So if we bring a witness in here who testifies that they have heard you use that word in the last 10 years, they are by definition a liar. And he said, yes. And then they bring in the witness and it's done. And then they bring the tape recording of him dropping it 41 times. It's done. It was a majority black jury.
World War II medals and memorabilia. You mean like with the little swastikas on them? Sorry. Yeah. No. Oh my God. The guy. I mean, to have a neo-Nazi cop, it's like the last person that you want on any racially charged case. We learned a lot from this trial. It changed a lot of things.
And saying, having him on recordings saying that he will. He takes the black guys down the back alley and beats them up and clubs them, and he'll do anything it takes to if he sees a white woman with a black guy, he'll pull them over. And if there's not a reason to pull them over, he'll make a reason. But when it was the N-bomb things and that came on the tapes, I said it's done. It's absolutely done. And then a few weeks later, when they Jedi mind trick Christopher Darden into putting the glove on Simpson. That was the final nail in the coffin. I knew it was over during the N-bomb section, but the glove thing was just it. It was done. But that was the moment
for you. So with F. Lee Bailey, that was the moment for you because you felt that the jury saw that, heard that, and knew this lead cop who found the glove. He's corrupt. He's racist.
It was the culmination of it all, where with Fuhrman, they had him testifying that he shouldn't have been standing around the bodies at the murder scene. He wasn't told to be there, wasn't told to stand there. He said he was standing on the street corner waiting to be picked up to be taken to OJ's house, but he just wandered over there anyway. And he referred to seeing the gloves, plural. The gloves
when there was one glove at each location,
supposedly. Yeah, before they got to OJ's house, he talked about seeing the gloves, and there was a whole big gloves. Is that plural or singular? I went through that whole thing. So he found that it was gloves, and then suddenly it became singular again. And then they go to Simpson's house. He wasn't told, he wasn't instructed, and he didn't take anyone with him when he wandered down the hill to the Bronco. And they found the blood. He magically found the blood on the Bronco on the side that was away from the other detectives when he wasn't even supposed to be down there. And then everybody else is doing their thing. And then he decides to walk around the back of the house, didn't take anybody with him, didn't report he was going there. He wasn't told to go back there. He didn't say, hey, guys, I'm going to go down and check over here. He just wandered off there, and he comes back suddenly with the greatest discovery in the case, the bloody glove behind the Simpsons house, and just all of these little things where it was like, okay, he mysteriously found this. He didn't tell anybody, didn't show anybody, didn't take anybody, wasn't given instructions, wasn't following instructions. He just wandered off by himself and magically found the blood, then magically found they just made this look so suspicious that maybe he did plant some of this. And then they get to there's testimony saying if there's a white man, if there's a white woman and a black man, if he doesn't have a reason to stop them, he will make a reason to stop them. And then it's the N-bombs. And these jurors, I believe 8 of them were black. I can't remember what the makeup was, but it was a majority black
like
jury.
that, yeah. Yes.
And you get all of them being told this guy is planting evidence, this guy's planting evidence, this guy's planting evidence. And then he gets there and says he'll plant evidence. And then he starts dropping N-bombs 41 times after saying adamantly he would never, ever, ever, ever say that. And anyone who says he would is a liar. You know, the jury's going, all right, he's a liar. He's lied about all this. He planted the evidence, not guilty. That's just
exactly.
That was just the death moment for me in the case.
I think that's a pretty salient explanation.
When all he had to do was go, yeah, I was talking to this woman who was making a screenplay about cops, and I was giving her some real street lingo, and I said some stupid, messed up shit that I shouldn't have said. I regret saying it. It was dumb of me to do it, but I don't do that as a normal part of my business. It's over.
I mean, no matter what he said, it would have looked bad. No matter what he said, it was, that was the bombshell moment. I think that the second that the question left F. Lee Bailey's mouth, that was when it was over. It wasn't really, I actually don't think it was like in his replies. I think it was just the very asking, the audacity of the question itself. Defense had an excellent strategy, and they were also linguistically much more sophisticated. And I just don't know why the hell did prosecution put on Fuhrman. That was the stupid. I mean, Darden, I believe, was insistent over and over and over again to Marsha Clark, do not put him up there. Yep. I mean, I love how apparently Johnny Cochran went to Darden and was just like, get the white people to do it, get them to question Fuhrman. And I mean, I'm glad that they figured that out. But oh my God, the glove moment, I think that was definitely the nail in the coffin. That was, oh my God, horrifying, just
and that was all just Johnny Cochran Jedi mind tricking him into doing it. Oh, he's like, yeah, we're gonna do it. They go, oh no, we'll do it first. He's like, if you're not gonna do it, we'll do it.
My favorite thing is Johnny Cochran's objection, and then he goes to Judge Ito and he's like, this is absurd, and then and then Darden gets up there and he's like, oh no, we have no objection to this, and the looks, it's. Yep. Okay, I'm basing this off of the series. I'm not basing this off of, I still need to watch that actual moment in the trial, but my understanding is that the series was very accurate and, like very realistic. There were a couple of things that were altered. I made sure to look it up, but very good preparation for a one-day study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome my question back here next week. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you one thing?
Yep,
so
sure.
About Fuhrman. So you have all of these. So the way that you demonstrate, do you think that the evidence actually was planted? I'm curious.
Oh yeah.
You do.
I do.
I don't.
And it's a problem with the police. They know they've got their guy. They're afraid there's going to be some high price, highfalutin lawyers that are going to come and poke holes in it. So you just have to make sure that there's enough evidence. You he did it, but you just want to make sure there's enough evidence. So you put a little more evidence there just to make sure.
I'm sure cops do that, and I respect your opinion, but I don't think it was planted personally, and I do think he's guilty. But he's not legally guilty, but I think he did it.
I don't think he actually did it. I think he was there.
Yeah,
I think he was there. I think he was watching it.
So who do you think? What's your theory?
No idea. I have no idea who did it.
See, I think Occam's razor, if you have 62 domestic incidents between partners and, the battered woman ends up being murdered, the husband probably did it.
Yeah, it's just the lack of any damage on him, the lack of any real blood evidence on him.
Well, I can see calling that into question. I mean, I respect any perspective on the case. I definitely have my opinions, but I like hearing other perspectives. And who knows? I might watch more of the trial and change my mind. I like to be open.
And that's I'm not, as I said at the beginning, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. This whole process is just to show how some of the best lawyers on planet Earth can plant doubt, reasonable doubt in the minds of a juror.
Well, the fact of the matter is I have immense respect for the defense. I think that the defense team was incredible. And no matter how I feel about the case, I think that, when you're in that courtroom, what matters is you have to outgun, your opposing counsel. And they did that. And they have my respect for that completely.
And I mean, people say, oh, well, he bought his freedom. It's something I've mentioned several times here. LA spent $9 million prosecuting him.
Yes.
OJ's lawyers billed $6 million.
Wow, that's really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, LA outspent his team by $3 million. He didn't buy his freedom. He just happened to have the wherewithal, the means of attempting to try to level the playing field as much as possible when going against a prosecution that essentially has a limitless budget. And not everybody can do that. Not everybody can afford a lawyer that is on that level. It's
no,
not
definitely
that,
not.
Yeah, it's not that he bought his freedom. It's just that he had the ability to level the playing field.
I agree. I mean, I think that they put the best prosecution team together that they possibly could. I think that defense was excellent. I think that Johnny Cochran had a way with words that was, the preacher style of the way that he delivers his, his opening statements, his all of his, even his questioning resonates and it's powerful. And he's very alliterative. He has a way with words. That's really important. And an image also. I think Marcia Clark didn't have a very good image. I don't think that she came across as well. Darden was excellent, but I just think that Cochran kind of outgunned it. I think defense was very good. And that was, they just couldn't compete, unfortunately. So, it happened the way it happened.
Yeah. And the blame goes squarely on the prosecution for losing this case.
They messed up. They messed up a lot.
Whether they mischarged him or whether they just didn't prove their case. I mean, do I think he should be behind bars for one reason or another about this murder for the rest of his life? Yeah, just wasn't. The prosecution blew it.
Well, the civil case did answer some questions, but I know we're not talking about that today.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's where we are today. We've got all the super chats done. We got everything out of the way. Our poll has been concluded. The number one reason that people liked and subscribed was this is not the Murdoch trial.
Yeah, I'm so glad that people are feeling that way. See, we're not the only ones. It's not easy.
And we'll be back here same time next week. What's going to happen now is when we end the stream, you'll be dumped automatically over into Nick Recada's Murdoch stream. You thought you could escape.
Recaida. Do it.
Tell him howdy. Tell him it's a Legal Vices raid. And are we going to see you for this next week, if not sooner?
I think so. I'd love to be here.
Well, if you think you have the ability to make it a permanent OJ Simpson Thursday thing, we got to do a thumbnail.
That would be very fun, and I'm very into that.
All right. We'll get it done. So, all right. It looks like we have a new partner for the OJ Simpson Thursdays. Yay.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Anything you want to say on the way out the door?
I really appreciate everybody joining. It's been wonderful getting to be a part of Legal Vices, and I'm so happy to be a part of this. It's just a very cool, fun thing.
And make sure you definitely go to her Twitter,
Twitter
space there, at REMY Remy CRH.
Yes.
REMY CRH on Twitter.
That
Get
is
subscribed to her.
Well, thanks for joining us
And,
for OJ, and I hope that
that's
Murdoch
it.
gets more interesting.
It won't. But mods, thank you for being here. As always, you're doing a hell of a good job. Chat, best chat in the universe. Can't wait till the Murdoch trial's over and people come back to other things.
That'll be a relief.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Anybody on replay that actually watched this for 2.5 hours on replay, do the same. And if you're feeling generous, there's a super thanks button down there somewhere to click.
Do that.
All right. With that, guys, thank you so much for being here. This is the end of OJ Thursday for this week. Tune in next time for what is episode 22. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your evening. Head on over to Nick's. See you later.